Aoniche, Audanse. Welcome to another episode of Kuma Bakolo, the essence of talk, a show where we look at instances of spoken or even sung Mandang from the real world and try to analyze and understand it. In this episode, we're going to explore lyrics for the first time, and they're going to be from the Malian artist Sidiki Diabaté. Ne togoko kolman noye adama jaloye farafina. This is a project from Ankata, my initiative to create media and resources for speaking and learning Mandang. If you're new here, think about subscribing. Do you need some extra help practicing some of the words and expressions covered in this video? There's a link down in the description below that can give you access to a virtual workbook chapter that includes a vocab list and interactive exercises that go along with everything covered in this video. Aiwa. So before we jump into things, why this song? Because it is the first song in a new project, the Mandang Language Lyrics Library, a collection of Bambara, Jula, and Malenke songs transcribed into the original language and translated into English that anybody can browse or search. It also includes embedded YouTube videos so that you don't need to scroll. You just click and listen and you can read along at the same time. All of this is the fruit of a new collaboration with Christy, who has been doing this kind of work on her own YouTube channel since 2019. So if you are a Mandang language music lover and would like to understand and explore the lyrics behind some of your favorite songs, think about checking out some of the links in the description below. You can go straight to the lyrics library, or you can check out Christy's awesome YouTube channel. Aiwa. So first things first, I have to admit that I am not the biggest follower of West African or Mandang music. This isn't because it's not great, it's just because of who I am, despite the fact that I do enjoy good sounds and I also enjoy dancing in the club. But because there are some people that might be like me, it seemed like it was a good step to take to go back a little bit to tell you a little bit about who Sidiki Diabaté is and what his story is so we can understand the lyrics of his song. Jongye Sidiki Sidiki donkili dalaye, Sidiki bebo malla. So Sidiki is a singer. Sidiki is from Mali. He's actually a renowned musician who was born into the Mandang social category known as Jeli, meaning a bard or a griot if we use the French term. Amokeye Toumani Diabaté no ye jelibaye fana, abese kora fola kosobe. So Sidiki is the grandson of Toumani Diabaté, who is also a renowned musician who in particular is known for his prowess with the kora, which is a kind of harp guitar that is popular in West African music. Sidiki ye togo soro malla. Sidiki is very well known in Mali. He is a major pop star. That said, in 2020, he ran into some trouble. He was accused of domestic violence towards his ex-partner and therefore actually spent 3 months in jail. The reason that I'm offering that as context is because this song that we're going to look at is actually the first major song that came out since his release from prison. So understanding what was happening in his life is important as we look at the lyrics from a purely linguistic perspective. Aiwa. So we are going to look at 5 specific lines from the song. Unfortunately, we cannot go through the whole thing. It is way too long, but these 5 lines should give you some of the vocabulary and some of the understanding that you need to approach the entirety of the lyrics. If you'd like to actually follow along with all the lyrics, don't forget there are links down in the description below. Otherwise, Ankata. Aiwa, akodi, ako, ja, jonte kodon inafo masa alale, okorokodi, aiwa. So we got a few things in this sentence that people might not know, so let's go through them one by one. I'll try to make this a little bit bigger so that you can see. Aiwa, ako ja. So first of all, ja here is an exclamation. It's a little bit like saying indeed or wow or really. So sometimes you hear people say ja, and then they'll go to the conclusion of the thing that they are remarking upon. Aiwa. Then we have some vocabulary. Jong. So jong here is a very particular word. It means slave. but it is used here in a very particular manner because in a Muslim context, the word jong sometimes is used to mean slave or servant, but it can refer to people that are Muslims, or in an even broader sense, to people in general. So here, jong comes from this Muslim register, which in Arabic is actually in the Quran, where they use the word that can also mean slave to mean a servant of God or a person. So jong, which has a very particular tone, if I put it here, you'll hear it's low tone, and when it's in citation, it is convex. So jong. Aywa. And then, what do we have? Then we have some other words that you need to know. So we have Allah, so I think everyone here knows Allah, so meaning God. Masa, Masa korokodi, Masa koroko, king or ruler. So when we say Masa Allah, that's kind of it's a way to honorifically refer to God, to say, in a little bit like in English, we would say, God, our Lord God, or God our Lord, that kind of thing. So King God, or God who is king. And then what else do we have? Ko korokodi, affair or matter. And we have it here in the plural form. So ko. And then we have a verb, kadon. Kadon o korokodi. Kadon koroko. Haketo. Kadon, or if we're speaking in Jula or in Maninka, kalon with an L. This means to know something. Then we have a very special expression here, inafo. Inafo korokodi. So inafo, I'm going to highlight it as one thing. It's a couple words, but it actually could be considered as one thing, like this, inafo, because it means like or as if. And it comes from inafo. Inafo. Literally, you will say it. So you can see how it kind of would be in English if you were saying, oh, one could say that this is, which is a little bit like saying, this is like something, all right? So we can see the etymology behind that word. Aiwa. And then we have le. Le korokodi. Le is the emphatic particle. Typically, people are used to probably hearing de in Bambara, but they both do emphasis work. So it's a little bit like in English when we put stress on something. You can say, I'm going to the store, or you can say, I'm going to the store. Ne de beta butikila. So de or le puts emphasis on a particular element or to an entire sentence. So here, arguably, masa ala le is putting the emphasis on God. So let's put the whole sentence together. Jonte kodon inafo masa ala le. So a servant, or in this case, people, right? A person. People do not know affairs. So do not know affairs. Inafo, like masa ala le, like God with emphasis. Aiwa, ako a jombe na dankando. Jombe na dankando okorokodi. Okoroko, jon, so we have jon meaning slave, or in this case, person, and be, all people, so jombe in this case, all servants, or in a broader metaphorical sense, all people, Ni I dankando, so dankan korokodi, dankan koroko, destiny, destiny. And then here, let's see, what is this ni dankando? So if we said I dankando, that would be it is your destiny. It's a presentative sentence, right? But what does it mean here when we combine it? Be ni I dankando. So let's expand this out. It's ni I dankan. So here we have ni meaning and so all people or each person and I dankan. So I dankan literally, if we put it together, would be something like your destiny. But in this case, this is a very typical usage where this E here actually is going to refer back to this idea of jombe, of a generalizable public. So you get sentences like this times where we will say, for instance, in English, we might say, to each their own, right? That's a kind of sentence where we use a singular, but we're referring to everybody. So in Mandang, you can say things like, mogo be ni ihakli. So this literally means each person or all people and ihakli. So we would expect it to be ahakli, right? So every person and his or her opinion or idea. But frequently in Manding, when you're using these as token expressions, they turn into E. So this E here is going to be a generalizable E. So it means you in the way that English, sometimes we use you for a bunch of people, but it doesn't line up with mogo. So the pronoun E does not need to line up with mogo. We can just say it together. So if we put it in this sentence, Jombe ni dankando, it means literally each servant or person and your, let's translate it as that, and their, or his and her, or his or her destiny do. It is. So, Jombe ni dankando, to each person their destiny, or every person has their destiny. Aiwa, ako, uye jamfa kenela, ko ube nke yekofila. Okorokodi. Okoroko, let's start out with one of the words that we might recognize. So, jamfa, meaning betrayal or treachery. So, and then we have u, meaning they. So, uye jamfa ke. They did betrayal. Our verb here is kake. Uye jamfa ke nela. Upon me. So, they did betrayal upon me. Ko ubena nke yekofila. So ko here is our quotative marker. This is a very special speech element. It comes up in things like okoro kodi. So normally it has something to do with speaking. But here we can say it like, let's just put it as saying. It's a little bit like in English if you said, they betrayed me saying or thinking. And now it's going to introduce what the context in which people betrayed him. So saying ube nke, so that they would, and then we have the same thing. Ka ke, this was in our previous, ka something, to do something to something, but when we do it with blank ye, this means to transform something or somebody into blank, right? So saying they would transform me, right? So this is ke and ye. This is our verb. And if we combine it with ye, that's going to give us this kind of reading of to transform, saying they would transform or make me into a yekofila. Yekofila, this was another special vocabulary word that I didn't know myself, but it has to do with the idea of somebody who has fallen from great fortune. So somebody who was a true star and then a fallen kind of hero or a person that has become ruined. So not sure of a good English one-to-one translation. If you have one, post it in the comments below. Aiwa. And if we put it all together, uye jamfa ke nela ko ubenke yekofila okoroko, they betrayed me, saying that they would turn me into a ruined man. Aiwa, ako, neyenjija kadusuta walasa alakana nke Jugusago ye. Okorokodi. Aiwa. So this one's a little bit long, so let's kind of break it down part by part. So if we go with njija, the verb is kijija. So it's a reflexive verb meaning to make an effort, to try hard. But it needs a direct object, and that direct object is going to be the person in question. So I jijad myself, literally, is the expression, but it means I tried really hard. I made a big effort. So neye unjija, and then we have the next kind of clause, kajusuta. So kata means to take. Nankafuku kata, to take something. Kadusuta ni dusuye. Idusu walima ijusu is your heart. So some people would pronounce it jusu. Okoroko, heart. So I took heart. So neye njija, I tried hard and I took heart. So here this is an infinitive construction, but it refers back to this. In English, we would have to say and blah blah blah, I did so and so. But in Manding, you just string them together. So nye njija, I tried hard and took heart. And then here we have walesa. Walesa korokodi, walesa koroko, in order to. So it's a conjunction, in order to, or in English, so that. And then so that what? Ala kana nke Jugusago ye. So that God, and then here, let's see, the verb we have is kake. Kake. But it's an expression. Kake blank ye. So that is to transform something into blank, right? So here we're saying, in order that God, and then let's just translate it, wouldn't me make into or transform me into a jugusago. So jugusago is a special word. I myself didn't even know this one before getting into this song. So jugusago comes literally from enemy wish. So it has something to do with being someone who's down and out or hard on their luck, but in accordance perhaps with what their enemies would want. So then we have kana. So kana typically is used as the optative. So it'd be something like, you can say ankata or ankanata. Let's not go. Ankanata. Or it gets used with the imperative. So you can also say kanata, don't go. So let's look at a few of those examples. We could say kanata, don't go. We could also say ankanata, let's not go. And here we see that this also gets used with walasa. So walasa, so in order that God wouldn't, is kind of how we translate it in English. But in order that God would not or will not, and then we have a direct object, me, turn into or make, and it's transform or make into because of this postposition ye. So the expression is kake blank ye. So wouldn't make me into a jugusago. So neunjija ka jusuta walesa ala kananke jugusago ye. So I tried hard and took heart so that God would not turn me into a jugusago, or let's say a down and outer. Aiwa, ako, Dugaw jabila nema. Aiwa, okoro kodi, okoro ko. So let's have a look at this. Dugaw, here, sometimes Dugaw can also be written Dugaw or Dubau. All of these words, Dubau, it's actually an Arabic loan word that means benediction. That's why it has so many variable pronunciations and spellings, right? But Dugaw or Dubau means benediction. And here we have kajabi. Kajabi means to respond. So Dugaw jabila, this is actually going to be a passive construction. So because we normally say to respond, it would be active, right? So we would say, we would have a direct object. We would say something like, ye ijabi. I answered you, right? But if we take out that direct object, and this could be a little bit tricky if you're not used to it, but just to point it out, if you say ijabila, would be you were answered, right? So I'm not going to go into the details of that now, but hopefully in a future episode of Basic Bambara, I'll cover a little bit about how passives work in Bambara with different kinds of verbs. Aiwa. But suffice it to say that we say Dugaw jabila, so benedictions were answered. Nema. So ne meaning me or I, and ma, a postposition. In this case, it's going to be something like benedictions were answered to me or for me. So there had been, he had made prayers, or he had made benedictions, saying, may God do this, may God do that, and they were answered. So Dugaw jabila nema could be benedictions, or the prayers for me, the benedictions, the blessings for me were answered. Aiwa, barabana. The work is all done. Did you like this video? Think about giving me a thumbs up. If you really like this video and want to help me keep making resources so people can speak and learn Mandang on the internet, think about becoming a patron. There's a link down in the description below. Otherwise, kambe alakawati were yira anna.